Welcome into the San Francisco 49ers Report. Chase Sr. here with you. Just doing a Niners morning update. All of the news that you need to know on this Thursday, May 22nd to get your day going. And a programming reminder, we'll be live right here on the channel a little bit later today. Show gets underway at 5:30 p.m. Eastern, 2:30 p.m. Pacific. So hit that subscribe button and be sure to join us. Where I want to start is with some takeaways with what Brock Purdy had to say yesterday. He had a press conference with a bunch of reporters, speaking for the first time since signing that lofty contract extension, and a talking point last year for the Niners. Coming off that heartbreaking Super Bowl defeat in Super Bowl 58 against Kansas City, the 49ers, I thought last year when we watched them, were banged up. And they were banged up mentally and physically. The 2024 season looked like a year where the Niners were mentally and physically checked out. They were just fatigued on a couple of different fronts. And Brock Purdy talked about that yesterday. And I thought this is a pretty interesting and honest reveal of how things were inside the building. But the good news for fans, where things are right now with San Francisco. Purdy said everybody is bought in right now. We're excited to do more team activities as we move along this offseason, but man, it's hard to explain. The young guys, the older guys, everybody is bringing it right now. He also said how everybody was on hand for offseason activities back a few weeks ago, even the likes of Nick Bosa, who never attends. George Kittle ended up going. Trent Williams was inside the building. Purdy continued by saying, I think it's just so important right now that we are around each other a lot, doing little activities and continuing to build chemistry. Last year, there wasn't a lot of chemistry. There was no rhythm or flow with this football team. So they're starting, it seems, off on the right note. More from Purdy, he said, I don't want to just pinpoint something, but this year, having these contracts done and being able to get back to work and be around the guys in the locker room, build our culture, our standard from the ground up with all of the new guys that we have, it's been pretty cool. Obviously, I said that last year, but this year, we didn't make the playoffs. We had some time away to actually decompress and think about how the season went and actually do some real reflection. The year before, it was the Super Bowl. I got married. It just went so fast, and boom, we are right into the next season. There's a new kind of re-energized feeling around the facility. So, yeah, it's an exciting time. And so that's coming from Purdy. That was also coming from Kyle Shanahan at the NFL owners' meetings a little bit earlier this offseason. He said, I'm as excited for this season as I've been in a really long time. And you think about what happened. First of all, you suffer a crushing, heartbreaking Super Bowl defeat. And when you lose a game of that magnitude, in that manner, in which you cost yourselves a massive win, what would have been the 6th Lombardi trophy, and when you shoot yourselves in the foot time and time again, when knowing you should have beat Kansas City, human nature, man. That's not easy to deal with. But then the Niners had a short offseason, and up until the 2024 campaign, they had made it to 4 NFC championship games and 2 Super Bowls in 5 years. So they were fatigued going into 2024. They played like that, but that's also understandable because they had played so much football with all of these shorter off seasons, which results in shorter recovery periods. So I love the fact that Shanahan and Purdy are talking about the renewed energy, the re-energized feel. That's also what happens when you bring in a lot of new and young blood. Niners have 18 rookies currently on their 90-man roster with 11 draft picks. And those draft picks, they're athletic. They've got some spunk, confidence, and swagger. They've got some juice. And I cannot wait for the 2025 season to get underway. As for the Brock Purdy contract, we continue to learn some really interesting details on this front, which I believe go to show how this Purdy deal is a steal for San Francisco. The Niners can get out of this deal after the 2026 season. So not this season, but the season after that, going into the 2027 offseason. Purdy's under contract for the next 6 years. The contract extension is for 5, but the Niners can get out of it after 2026. That's why I've always told people, don't panic by the dollar amount. Worry more about the guaranteed money. The average annual value is tied for 7th. The guaranteed money isn't crazy either. And you have to look at the structure of the contract. If things don't go well, if things go awry, whether Purdy plays poorly or there's an injury, the Niners can get out of Dodge and get out from under that contract. That is huge. And I also tweeted this out yesterday, right? Purdy, when he's signing this deal, you got to compare yourselves to other people in your field, other people in your line of work, with what you're making, and quarterbacks do the same thing. Athletes do the same thing with other players at their position. Dak Prescott took $60 million per season, $231 million in total guaranteed money. He did that in Texas, where there is no state income tax, right? Brock Purdy, I think, is better than Dak Prescott. He's doubled the amount of playoff wins that Prescott has. He has beat him in every single head-to-head matchup, right? And so Purdy took $53 million, $181 million in total guaranteed money in California, where last year state income taxes reached as high as 12+%. So Purdy took a bargain, and I think he's a better player than Dak Prescott. And here's what Purdy had to say about his deal. I don't know if there was a narrative of Brock's going to take a pay cut because he's a nice guy or this or that, but for me, I play in the NFL. There's 32 starting quarterbacks, and it's not the easiest job in the world. For me, with what I've done and everything, I can hang my hat on the fact I've had success in this league. I'm capable of leading an organization all the way to the end, the Super Bowl. I've proved that. I know who I am, and I'm going to obviously want to get what I deserve, but also surround myself with guys around me and not just try to take every penny for myself. But that's the whole point of negotiating. You go through that. You try to meet at the middle ground, and where we ended, I'm extremely grateful, and I'm happy with that. I love this from Brock Purdy. He didn't need $60+ million to still be a top 10 highest paid quarterback in the NFL, to be respected by the San Francisco 49ers. You know who has also taken discounts so that their respective teams can build the rest of the roster? Patrick Mahomes has done that. He's only making $45 million per year. He's not a top 10 highest paid quarterback, even though he did sign a contract worth $500 million a few years ago. Tom Brady became famous for doing this. He took lower deals. He made a ton of money with sponsors because he was a very marketable guy. That's what happens when you win that many Super Bowls and you're a good-looking cat. But he took less money so that the New England Patriots and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers could build their rosters so that they could be sustainable and consistent winners. That's what Purdy's doing here. He continued by saying, I think where we ended up was exactly where we needed to be. And I'm extremely happy with where we ended, and the Niners are too. And with that being said, for me, it's all about football now. However they use the cap space and all that kind of stuff, that's not my job. Awesome stuff from Purdy. That is being aware of who you are, but how important it is to still allocate dollars to the rest of the team. Why did Brock Purdy want a no-trade clause? He said, I think it's important, yes, but also something my agent and I had discussed with what other quarterbacks have done around the league in their contracts. For me, was it going to be a determining factor in signing or not? No. We are very grateful that we had it in there, but at the end of the day, everything else in the contract details, we're extremely excited about that, and we're just grateful with how it turned out. There are 9 players in the NFL who have full no-trade clauses. They're all quarterbacks. No surprise there. Brock Purdy, Dak Prescott, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Trevor Lawrence, Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes, Jared Goff, and Kirk Cousins. But again, important to note that the Niners can get out of this contract after the 2026 season. As for what Purdy's first big purchase is going to be, he said, we're still thinking about some stuff. I've always been a big fishing advocate. So I was telling my wife, and she's annoyed with me, but I'll say it, I'd like to get a bass boat one day. That would be my big first purchase. No surprise there. Big fisherman, big farmer, a hunter. Seems like a good purchase for me if you've got the dough. Brock Purdy also talked about the Niners' offensive line. He said every game and situation is different, and things happen and whatnot. But those guys up front, they are war daddies. Every single day they come to work getting better. I've got their back. They have mine. We're going to be just fine. And these guys have what it takes to have a successful season. Everybody is going to find out soon. I hope he's right. And most importantly, I hope Trent Williams plays every single game. Because if he doesn't, going to be some concerns along that offensive line. More to get to. Sorry to interrupt this great show, but a quick reminder, subscribe to the channel. We are 300 people away from 162,000 subscribers. So if you want Niners shows every single day year-round, lock us in. If you want a Brock Purdy jersey, by the way, perfect opportunity to get yours today. Chatsports.com/49jersey. That'll take you to Fanatics. Fanatics will know that Chase Sr., the 49ers Report, and Chat Sports sent you. We're about to talk about Christian McCaffrey as well. If you want a CMC jersey, boom. George Kittle going to be here for the foreseeable future as well, signing that long-term contract extension. Nick Bosa signed that big money deal going into 2023. A Fred Warner jersey also there. You can get a Maliek Williams jersey if you're a believer that he's going to be a dog with the 11th overall pick. And then Joe Montana, Jerry Rice jerseys also available thanks to our friends at Fanatics. I'll put that link down below in the show notes and attached to the pinned comment of today's San Francisco 49ers Report. Brock Purdy also, he's been doing his media rounds. That's what happens after you sign a big contract like this. A little bit of a dead period, too, in the NFL offseason before OTAs get ramped up next week. But he was on with NFL Network. They asked him about Christian McCaffrey, and he said he's healthy. He's ready to go. And Purdy said, I'm so excited about Christian being back. He's healthy, getting in and out of his cuts. He is a true Swiss Army knife, a great player. He's back healthy. He's pouring into the young guys. And he said Christian is ready to roll. ESPN's Mike Clay, too, always puts out annual projections every offseason for all teams. And he put out some statistical projections that I find to be interesting. He has Brock Purdy throwing for 22 touchdowns and 11 picks. Those numbers would be very close to what he did last year. He also has Purdy running for 255 yards and 4 more touchdowns. So that would be a combined 26 touchdowns. I think the Niners would want a little bit more from Purdy after signing him to this deal. He also has Mac Jones playing a little bit, throwing 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He has Christian McCaffrey playing 14 games and carrying the football 218 times for 992 yards and 7 touchdowns. If CMC is around 1,000 rushing yards, I think that's great for the Niners. He also has him at 60 catches for 506 yards and 3 touchdowns. So if McCaffrey can have a season like that, where he's got about 1,500 all-purpose yards, that would signal that he stays healthy, he's very productive, and that would be great news for San Francisco. Other notables here, Juwan Jennings as the leading receiver for the Niners, 938 yards and 5 touchdowns. Ricky Pearsall at more than 60 catches, 882 yards and 4 touchdowns. Brandon Ayuk only playing 8 games. That seems realistic to me. 30 catches for 456 yards. And then George Kittle at 73 grabs, 920 yards, and 6 touchdowns. On the defensive side, let's take a look at some sack numbers. More than 11 sacks for Nick Bosa, almost 6 sacks for Maliek Williams. I think that'd be a win if Nick Bosa's double-digit sacks come to fruition and Maliek Williams is around 6 sacks. Obviously, it's a projection, it's a prediction, but get you amped up for some Niners football. Another reminder, going to be live a little bit later. Tune in, hang out, let's talk some Niners. We'll see you in a few hours, and don't forget to hit that sub button.